Hey guys, it's poppin'. Jacques Slade here. Thanks for tuning in. Hope everyone is staying safe out in the world right now. Now this is the shoe of what some might consider to be the best player to ever touch a basketball. Now, opinions aside, there is no question as to how big of a force LeBron has been to the game, not only on the court, but off the court as well. For 18 years, the teams at Nike have worked to create not only a shoe fit for the rigors of the NBA season, but also something that I would say complements the game of a guy that can play almost any position on the court. Today, the result of these years of experience leave us with the Nike LeBron 18. Let's give it an unboxing, and here are my first impressions. Now, for those of you that are into the design and art of a sneaker, you'll be happy to know that Nike Basketball is actually taking a little bit of liberties with this design, and they started off with your very first look. Here we see the box is a bit different than what we're used to for LeBron. This year, they've taken a more subtle approach to the box design, which I actually like. The soft natural tones look pretty nice against the white stripe, which details what you actually get inside the package. From the year to the shoe name to his area code in Ohio, 330, you get a taste of what's to come with the LeBron 18. This just so happens to be the Reflections colorway that launched on sneakers, but you don't get any of that information on the box. What you do get is the higher price tag, which is $225. The normal colorway is going to be $200, but $225. Now, one thing on this box that I couldn't figure out was this. I think it's his signature, but I don't match it with the others that I've seen, so I'm a bit lost as to what it is. I do know that the 18 stars represents the signature shoe that we're on, and I kind of wish they would have put these on the shoe somewhere, but I'll dig into that a little bit later as well. All right, moving on to the actual shoe. And the first thing that I noticed with the LeBron 18 is the weight. LeBron's shoes have always had a bit of weight to them. It isn't a heavy shoe, I don't want to say that, but it feels like it's solidly built. You can tell that they use the best parts and pieces when it comes to LeBron's line. So let's start out by talking about the upper. For a few years, Nike Basketball used what they called battle knit on the upper of LeBron shoes. LeBron is obviously a big guy, and his shoes need to be able to take a beating, as one would expect from the way he plays, but Flyknit isn't going to do that. And that brings us to battle knit. In my opinion, it was a bit of an overcorrection to Flyknit, and that is what landed us here, which what Nike calls Knitposit. To be completely accurate, it's actually called Knitposit 2.0. The fabric, I guess if you want to call it that, was introduced on the LeBron 17 and takes a heat molded yarn mixed with the Flyknit construction to essentially make a lightweight armor for his shoes. If you actually look back at like the 15 and the 16, you see that textured look to the upper of the LeBron signature, and it was those designs that I think helped evolve to the upper that we see here today. Upon first touch, it definitely feels harder and more sturdy than your typical Flyknit application, but something they have done this year to relieve the stress on the upper is they've added these rails right here. I think Nike officially calls them support beams, and they do definitely add some structure to the Knitposit, but they're also elastic, which adds some tension relief to the upper as well. Now, I obviously haven't played in these to give them a full review, but just holding them in hand, you can see the difference that it makes to add those into the mix and to give the shoe some stretch points. Now, you also get some fly wire to help complete the lacing system and trail down to the strobel board to give some additional lockdown. One of the things I really liked about the upper from this first hands-on is actually the liner. It feels a little bit like a thin mesh sort of textile, but it also has a bit of a neoprene sort of feel to it as well. It's an interesting looking material that has a nice bit of padding to it as well, and that should feel great from the moment you step into the shoe. One of the more bold choices for the upper is actually this tongue. I know from the images I didn't really see how dynamic it was, and now that I see it in hand, it's very interesting. There are actually 3 pockets on the tongue that I imagine were added to help alleviate some of the pressure from the laces, but there doesn't seem to be a ton of air in these bags on the tongue, so I'm not sure how effective that's going to be in real life. On the visual side of things, though, the air pockets do look kind of sick. The top pocket has like the LeBron lion logo, while the second one just has air, and then the bottom one just has LeBron's signature inside of it. The cool thing about it is that you can really see it because they're translucent, and you kind of get to really show off your socks underneath if you're into that sort of thing. I don't know. As for the tongue itself, it is a bit on the thin side, but on the bright side, it does have some perforations to help let some of the heat out when you're playing in it. And really, I guess the final thing about the tongue is it is a bit oversized, but I think that's going to work in your favor. So this tongue is actually stitched to the rest of the shoe on the inside. So the size, I believe, will make it easier for you to actually get your foot inside the shoe. Now, one area that has always been above most when it comes to LeBron's line is the cushioning. For the LeBron 18, Jason Petrie, the designer who has worked on the LeBron line since the 7, tapped into a couple of technologies that have been staples of the LeBron line for a while. The first is Air Max. So we've seen Air Max used tons of times in a variety of different ways, but it feels special when it comes to LeBron for some reason. For this implementation, Jason Petrie actually used the largest Air Max the brand has used thus far for a basketball shoe, which is obviously pretty nice. Considering how active LeBron is on the court this late into his career, it's important for things like impact protection to be a big part of the design philosophy. That also makes explosiveness a major part of his design as well. So the solution to this one is, well, zoom. Ever since the LeBron 10, I believe, you saw a shift in the focus for LeBron. They tried visible zoom, blown zoom, encapsulated zoom, zoom pods. It all revolved around keeping LeBron responsive for the first step. And in the 18, we see that happening again. To be fair, this isn't the first time Air Max and zoom have been together. However, it is the first time that the two have been used in this sort of tandem way. Usually they're used separately. So you have Max Air in the heel, and then you have zoom in the forefoot. But for this implementation, you actually see them stacked on top of each other. The Max Air is at the bottom, and then the zoom Air is fit right into this little cavity right here that you see. And of course, you still have some Cushlon in there, right there. And it serves as the main carrier for the zoom unit, and you can even see a bit of it exposed on the medial side as well as on the lateral side, trailing up right here, here, towards the ankle. This allows you to still experience the direct contact with the zoom on the forefoot, but then you also have some additional padding through the Cushlon that extends all the way to the toe. Now, visually, you don't get to see the zoom, but the Air Max is there just as big as ever. Now, for the outsole, you get a really aggressive pattern at the heel that transitions to like this diamond pattern here at the toe. Like we've seen with other outsoles on basketball sneakers, Nike has given it some give for flexibility, so you have these lines here. However, the part that really interests me the most is this heel section because it's so aggressive. It has like the similar diamond pattern as the toe area, but it has like these little nodules that get smaller as you get closer to the toe. It's really interesting and should provide some great traction on the court inside and out. It feels pretty durable, and I really like how Jason used it almost like a canvas a little bit. So as with all LeBron's signatures, there are also details scattered throughout that make the shoe unique to him. You see words like chosen and lifetime at the toe. You have inscriptions on the heel that say from the city of Akron, Ohio, or established in 1984 on the other one. On this pair in particular, you actually get a graphic at the heel that documents basketball culture through the lens of LeBron James. It's a little bit of iconography here, and you can actually see that again on the tongue and on the sock line. Now, this pair also changes color from one shoe to the other. The right shoe rocks with a bleached aqua on the laces and Cushlon, while the left uses topaz gold for those same parts. It isn't a bold change by any stretch of the word from one to the other, but it is enough to notice and catch your eye when you see them walk by. You also get this color change on the knit posit on the upper. The left shoe has these bright yellow, almost gold speckles applied to the upper, while the right shoe almost looks orange or faded really by comparison. Maybe even purple? I don't know. And as for my first thoughts on the shoe, well, I think it fits into what we expect from LeBron's signature line. A solidly built shoe that feels like the pinnacle of what Nike basketball has to offer. The quality, the craftsmanship, it's second to none in the world of basketball sneakers. And you know that you're going to be getting the best when it comes to technology as well. While they may not experiment as much with LeBron's line, they do push the limits of what is possible, while I feel like giving you a familiar feeling that doesn't rock the boat when it comes to the look. For the last 3, maybe 4 years, Jason and his team have been pretty consistent with LeBron's line, and this feels like the evolution continues and the focus is keeping LeBron on the court and comfortable as opposed to doing something radical. Now, as for the release, the LeBron 18 will release in a few new colorways through the end of the year, with the multicolor dropping on 10/9 and then the Los Angeles by Day dropping on November 16th. As for this pair, well, they actually should be available right now at select retailers, though they do cost a bit more at $225 because of the materials and the aesthetic changes that they make here. The rest of the line should just cost you $200. So yeah, those are my first impressions of the LeBron 18. Hope you guys enjoyed. Feel free to comment down below what you think, and I'll see you guys in the next one. As always, I appreciate you. Peace.